screen was the winner of the first race, Tim Macro. Superb drive under serious pressure from John Martin for the entire 16-lap duration. He also walked away with a brand new outright lap record at Sandown, the fastest ever race lap we've seen at 105.01, 6 tenths quicker than the existing benchmark. There's huge pace. And do you know what everyone's saying in pit lane, Matt? Is we have not even scratched the surface. There is so much more to come from these cars.
Expect that lap record's going to touch up this morning here in this qualifying heat. So the cars leave the grid, 2 rolling laps to get some heat into these Who's Your Tyres from Max Dumsley Motorsport, who've been handed the rights to this one and development behind the scenes to get a good durable tyre up. Well, they've delivered one, haven't they? John Martin putting the heat into his AGI Sport prepared entry. Double duties he's got as well in the TCR series, which will come out later on this afternoon for 2 big races. Rubens Barrichello in the field. Well, we talked about yesterday, someone had to give in turn number 1. We just didn't think it would be the Brazilian Formula 1 star that would be spat down at the other end down there at turn number 1.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he copped a little bit of damage, a bent rim on the rear of that car and a bent suspension component. So he complained after the race of being down in straight line speed. That wouldn't have helped the cause. There would have been some geometry issues at the rear end after that contact. We spoke to Team BRM, who were running the car this morning. It's all good, straight, good to go. And like everyone else, they're just learning what makes it work. He's had a terrific weekend, Rubens Barrichello. He got to go to the footy on Friday night with 94,000 at the MCG. Last night, popped down to Ticket Race and check out some Aussie touring cars, as you do, to learn Sandown. He went and hung out with young Aussie racer Tom Randall, jumped on the Dream Motorsport simulator and cut some laps because he'd never been here before. Yeah. So he's had a cool weekend getting the Aussie Motorsport vibe. And he's just been a terrific ambassador already for this class after just 2 days.
And promoting the upcoming 25th running of the Formula 1 Australian Grand Prix at Albert Park in March next year. You're in car with Matt Brabham, so we take a look at your starting grid. Qualifying heat number 2, the main race to come up later on this afternoon here at Sandown Raceway. Will Brown starting from pole position alongside Matthew Brabham. Tim Berryman starts out of position number 3 alongside Alex Davison. Ricky Capo and Barton Moore start out of 5 and 6.
Jimmy Golding was brilliant yesterday, finished 3rd, was 2nd for a while. He lines up alongside Rubens Barrichello. I'm not sure people would have thought that had ever happened in his career. Tim Macro, the winner yesterday from 9th, and John Martin, who was 2nd, going from just outside the top 10 in the AGI Sport car. Taylor Cockerton, young Kiwi from 11th place, had an off yesterday, but he's shown good speed. Tom Alexander, we heard with that fuel pressure issue going off 12th. Michael Gibson from 13th in the Apex Racing car.
It was actually the fuel line that came away from the engine. I spoke to him this morning that loosened enough that just couldn't pump fuel through. And I thought maybe it was electric. I speculated yesterday during that race, but once the fuel ran out of that line, well, that was pretty much game, set, match for the engine. So I said, what's it like? And he goes, well, now done a few laps, more than what he did on Wednesday at the official test day at Phillip Island. He's loving his time in this S5000 class. Next time, we'll line him up on the grid. Will Brown will start from pole position. The overall points will set the grid at the end of this for the feature race coming up later this afternoon.
Jump on board with Rubens, 11-time Grand Prix winner in the Payce supported car, running that iconic red livery that Rubens made so famous throughout his Formula 1 career. A great mix of teams in this field as well. It's been run by Team BRM, who are hugely successful in Formula 3 from Ford Coyote Cup. On pole, Will Brown for Eggleston Motorsport. He's got a long relationship with those guys, running in the Super 2 series, but they've won races in Australian GT, a host of categories. Matt Brabham from 2nd in the Painter Dixon Payce number 83 car for MTech Motorsport. They won the first race yesterday. It's a hugely experienced race team that run cars in Toyota Racing Series before that Formula Forward here in Australia. And some privateer entries as well, which is terrific. Gary Rogers Motorsport supporting Ricky Capo's number 34 car. Of course, James Golding being run by his supercar team in grid position number 7. So great mix of outfits, some new teams joining the sport, and terrific names on the grid. 560 brake horsepower from an Innovate build in Queensland. 5-litre Ford Coyote V8. Lots of torque. The cars are 900 kilos. They're big race cars. They're almost 5 metres long. They've got enormous performance potential. They've got a bit of downforce, but not so much that it affects when you're running close. So they can run nose to tail, they can run wheel to wheel, and they can put on a great show. We saw a taste test yesterday. The second qualifying race is today to build to the final. Brown and Brabham on the front row. Let's go with S5000 Race 2. Great start, Brabham. James Golding, sensational launch from grid 7 down the inside. Watch the yellow and black. He's off the road and driving down the inside, trying to get the race lead. Brabham's in the middle. Davison on the outside. Will Brown's being swamped. It's Brabham through turn 1. Jimmy Golding's going to be second. What a start from Bieber.
It was a huge start from the 4th row. Finds himself second while Brabham leads us through. Ricky Capo trying to make the move on the inside on Alex Davison at turn number 3. But how was the rumble going down the main straight for the first time here at Sandown? All 13 cars let rip onto the back straight. You're in car with Matt Brabham right now.
Tim Macro has gone from 10th to 3rd. The race 1 winner. Remember, the points from race 1 and race 2 set the grid for the feature. So Macro in the box seat to get pole for the main race. Pole tyres, standard on road, everyone locking up, trying to get the thing stopped and turned, and somehow they all make it out the other side. What a wild opening lap. Matty Brabham's your leader.
Rubens Barrichello trying to make the move at the back of the field too. In that 111 entry, there he is. In the background of the shot, there's Martin on the back of Will Brown from pole position to the middle of this pack, as now we see Golding attacking Brabham down into turn number 1.
Oh, big moment. James Golding, he backed it in. It's like he's back in the Formula Ford days. He finished 3rd in that championship. He was very good in an open wheeler before his touring car career started. He just had a huge slide. The driver said yesterday, you can follow in these cars, you can get up behind, you can keep the pressure on, you don't lose all of the downforce on the front wing. They don't produce a huge amount of dirty air, and that's why we're seeing this terrific racing.
And much more energy today than what we saw in that first qualifying heat race. The first 3 come down to Dandenong Road corner. Brabham, Golding, Macro. Then we go back to the second group of cars. Ricky Capo, Alex Davison, Will Brown, Martin and Barrichello. In the background that shot was Barton Moore locking up for the second time in 2 laps. You're riding on top of the Brazilian star, Rubens Barrichello, as he makes the move on John Martin down into the final set of turns.
That was the power slide for John Martin coming out of Dandenong Road. Rear end dancing around on the AGI Sport car. Macro's the fastest man on the racetrack at the moment. He's the 3rd car in this freight train. Race 1 winner, Golding very wide in fact, to open the door for Macro. But he defends and around. Oh no, big spin, Ricky Capo.
That was lucky. Everybody around just avoiding the Valvoline number 34. It's stuck in the middle of the track. He'll drop back behind Michael Gibson in the Apex Racing prepared number 11. Go back to the leading group. And Brabham finally gets a bit of a breather here between himself and Golding. 107.3 is the quickest lap of the race on the second flying lap. The record yesterday, 105.01, to work lap 3 of 16 in the second qualifying heat.
Yeah, they may go quicker this morning, Matt. We talked about in the Porsche race how these conditions are just about perfect. And that's great news that Ricky Capo's been able to get the Valvoline car up and running again. So he's 13th, but at least the racetrack is clear. He's done a really good job this weekend. You know, Victorian hasn't raced a lot recently and running inside the top half a dozen throughout a lot of the weekend. How's this battle? Second place, Golding under serious heat. Brabham out in front, 106.7, pulls the margin to a second. Davison 4th, Martin 5th, Will Brown 6th. Not a great start for the Eagleston Motorsport driver from pole. The irony is, pole position's almost on the wrong side here at Sandown, because you're starting on the non-rubbered up side on driver's left. You kind of want to be on the right, where all the grip is, where all the cars have been running this morning.
So lap 4, quarter race distance here in the qualifying heat, the second one of the inaugural weekend of the S5000s here at Sandown Raceway. And what a place to debut it at. So much history dating back some 5 decades. As down to turn 9, a replay thanks to Actron Air in turn 9. It's Barrichello coming through the shot, and in the background it's another lock-up, this time from Taylor Cockett, the Kiwi. Does he keep it out of the gravel? Only just down there at turn 9.
A bit of evasive driving there because he was very close to the back of Barton Moore in the Mildon Motorsport car with that beautiful GPS-style gold and black livery. Looks sensational. They had quite a big testing crash at Phillip Island. Proved the durability of these race cars. Had to get the spare car ready to go. Great job by that outfit, GRM, to enable that to happen and keep Barton Moore on the racetrack. Here's John Martin. He's the man on the march. He's past Will Brown. He's trying to do the same to Alex Davison. They'll go wheel to wheel at turn 1. Davison defends. There'll be a switchback, but Alex will continue to find himself on the correct side of the road for turn 2.
Great racing, and that really shows you the slipstream effect that these cars are designed to do down the Brock Straight here at Sandown Raceway. Alex Davison just ahead of Martin here. While the front guys continue to trade fastest laps, the gap sits at half a second between Brabham and Golding. You're watching Martin battling with Davison for 4th and 5th. Pulls out for a bit of a look at turn 6, and Brabham is off. Matt Brabham is off the circuit at turn 9. He's going to just get this car out, but he drops out of the lead. Can you believe this? He'll drop down the field. He rejoins the track. He gets away with it, but only just. He's dropped a ton of track time.
What a free kick for James Golding and Tim Macro. You're keen to see how that happened at a high-speed bit of road across the top of turn 6. It's easy to make an error there. 6 laps in. Drivers are saying by this point tyres are all up to temperature. So curb on the inside, curb on the outside, that's okay. Wow. And just lock the fronts. So that was the same we saw a lap ago with the ASI, the E-Tech Motorsport car. Quite a big whack into the fence as well. And just moved that Armco with that square contact. So hopefully it hasn't bent any suspension arms.
He's in the pits, so there has to be some damage to that right rear. I mean, they're strong cars, but they'll have their limits.
I'd say it would have. Barrichello bent some suspension components in car 111 yesterday after that contact down at turn 1 with Barton Moore, which was a little bit contentious after the race, actually. They, believe it or not, had differing opinions on who was in the right or wrong there. Unlike racing car drivers, I know.
Who would have thunk it? Meantime, Brabham back in the pits. Got the split screen going here, so the M-Tech Motorsport team looks like the race is done for the man that is so proud of the 100th run into the Indianapolis 500 a few years ago. Brabham climbs out from the race lead and will start further down the field for the feature race. Let's go to pit lane with Noons.
Matt, the big issue's on the right rear. I'll get Steve, our cameraman, to come on around to the right rear of this car. This is where the big drama is. The right rear of Matty Brabham's car is completely bent. Have a look at that. That's your offending item. That's why he's cooked. That's why he's out of the car, and that's why he's done for this qualifying race too.
Yeah, thanks, Noons. Figured with that kind of impact and the way the guardrail moved down there at Dandenong Road that there would be a bent suspension item. So not a massive job to replace a top upright, one of those cars, the wishbone. They're designed to be bendable components to take a lot of that shock and an impact.
And that's a high-speed area still. For it to be, that's minimal damage, really, when you look at it.
These cars are tough.
Aren't they?
They are properly tough race cars. We're learning every race, mate. We're learning that these things are strong. They can take a beating. They can take some abuse. And for Matt Brabham to get away with an impact, basically that was a crash down the Dandenong Road with a bent wishbone. That's a big tick. So these things can race. They can bend and get away with it too. It's such a shame. He was driving so well. It was building to be a great fight for the lead. This is a great fight for the minors. Alex Davison in 3rd, John Martin in 4th, Will Brown is 5th, and Rubens Barrichello on the back of the train now in 6th. The Brazilians caught this battle pack. Davison's the cork in the champagne bottle right now. John Martin, who was runner-up yesterday, looking for a way past.
So 4 cars arguing over 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th here as we work lap 8 of 16. James Golding holds the fastest lap of the race at 0.6 of a second to Tim Macro. And this battle, Alex Davison. And now around the outside, here comes John Martin with the move of the weekend. That was huge from the 24 and puts himself up into 3rd place. What a move on the outside.
Great bit of driving. Really good stuff from both guys. We saw the move was on. And Davison, who is very, very smart, he's a driver standards advisor for Car Sales TCR, saw that was going around the outside whether he liked it or not and just backed out of it. Held his position. He's now got to deal with Will Brown. John Martin's up to 3rd. Our front row is building. It's building for the feature race this afternoon with Macro and Martin on top at the moment. Notes?
What happened?
These cars are quite difficult to drive, and I've just been trying to learn so quickly with such a short amount of time. And I was in the lead and I felt comfortable, and I was just trying a few little different things over the top, because I just need that last little bit of time out of it before I feel like I'm right on the top. And I was just pushing a little bit too hard. I broke a little bit too deep. And I think once you lose it with these things, it's so hard to gather it back up. And I just couldn't gather it back up and ran wide and just grazed the wall. And I think it just bent the rear toe. So yeah, we're out of the race. I mean, I felt like I was really good out there. I got a really good start, got in the lead, and obviously just made a mistake, and it was just my fault. So I feel really bad for the team and stuff, and obviously I'm really pissed off at myself. So yeah, just a silly mistake. But I mean, we really had awesome speed in that race, and I think I finally figured it out. But yeah, just now it's all too late. So
it was a pretty hard hit in the damage section. That much, all things considered. There's other open wheeler cars, if you hit them all that hard, there'd be wheels flying off the things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think these things are really, really tough, and they're really quite bulky and heavy, and I'm surprised. Yeah, I mean, I think it was just the rear suspension. We'll have to check the toes on the front, but that's it. So, yeah.
See you later in the day.
Thanks. Cheers.
I've known this guy for a long time now. Genuine disappointment. I know how much he really wanted to do well here this weekend. The man from Indianapolis and Indiana now, born and raised in Boca Raton in Florida. But you could see the look of despair in the face there. He wanted to win that race so desperately to get him up for that feature race later today. Matt Brabham out of this race.
These cars are difficult to drive. He said it. That's great. That's what we want. They've got to be a challenge. They've got to be hard work. And they are. That's what we want to see. It's so exciting, Matt, this product that we're building in front of our own eyes, getting feedback from the drivers about what they're like. It's just ticked every box so far. If you want to be fast in an S5000, you ought to be good, because otherwise you will get punished. And even the best can be caught out, and that is really cool.
There's nothing slot car about an S5000 car, let me assure you. Lap 11 of 16 of this race, and a new record, 105.0164 for John Martin. Here's the Actron Air replay of Barrichello and Brown, where you thought he was excited about having Barrichello in the field, Will Brown. He's racing wheel to wheel with him now.
He won't like being passed by him.
No.
Will Brown is, after all, a race car driver, fanboy or not. And this is John Martin on Alex Davison, so we saw this live. Great bit of driving. And at this point, Davison went, no, it's all yours, mate. Off you go. High-speed corner, 260k approach, and Johnny Martin goes through, and as you mentioned, Nolts, he's just pumped out a new lap record. Now he's in clean air. He's going out after the leaders. He won't get to them in the remaining 5 laps, but he might set some pretty attractive numbers in the process.
27 thousandths of a second quicker than yesterday's new lap record for John Martin as we work our way towards the business end of this second qualifying heat race for this afternoon's feature race at Sandown Raceway, the S5000s, and now another new lap record. We're in the 104s, folks. 104.775. The times they are a-tumbling.
I'm doing it 3 in Bathurst. It's a really good number. 104.7 for John Martin. It's 7 seconds to the race leader, just over 6 to Tim Macro, who's just lost touch with James Golding in the last couple of laps. Still less than a second. He was up in his gearbox a couple of laps ago. It's been a really impressive drive from James Golding, just building the lead. His car's been very good through the first timing intermediate, the first sector, which is the running to turn 4. He's very good through the slow speed stuff, the Gary Rogers Motorsport car. And they will, by their very nature, have a very good understanding of this race car. Even just having pieced all of the cars together, they get the suspension geometry, they get a lot of the characteristics that have gone into the construction of it. So I'm not surprised that the car they're running has been particularly quick. But I think James Golding surprised a lot of people with his speed. He's had such a rough year in the Supercars Championship with their V8's not performing that well, that he's sort of been flying under the radar. This has been a bit of a life-affirming performance, I think, to see how much talent this young guy's got. Macro's still there, though. Martin continuing to pump out lap records with the Bandit. 4 laps remaining. Barrichello clear of Brown now and chasing Alex Davison.
And Macro, well, Martin now, these two guys will square off on the front row for the feature race the way it looks at the moment, with just 4 laps to go at Sandown Raceway. Hope you enjoyed the action. The anticipation of this series has been going for well over 2 years. And a very proud guy, Chris Lambden, here today watching on. It's brought out so many drivers from yesteryear as well that are sitting in the pits watching this, reminiscing what it was like back in the 70s and the glory days of the Formula 5000 era. And now in 2019 we get to see it under the S5000 guys. It's so good to see this category blooming on the second day. Golding continues to lead this race after that blistering start. The gap's coming down to 0.6 of a second.
Tim Macro's not done yet. He said his car was very good late in the race yesterday, which is why he was able to set that lap record quite late in yesterday's 16-lapper. The Golding, Macro, Martin, the top 3. Margin 0.6 between the leaders. You can see that. Alex Davison doing a super job in 4th and Barrichello 5th. Now, we've been talking about the points permutations, Matt, and that they'll generate the grid for our feature race this afternoon as they run. Macro on pole, John Martin second. Jimmy Golding goes from third with 56 points at the moment. Behind that, she's pretty close, and it looks like it'll be Rubens Barrichello at the moment, going from the outside of the second row of the grid. He's got 41 points to Davison's 40, fourth and fifth on the road in terms of the standings. So that looks like the top four, at least at the moment. Will Brown will be on the third row, so somewhere in the mix, which is exciting because it's an exciting guy to watch. And even though Matty Brabham's out of the race, 27 points will see him probably on row 4 at the moment, but it could change because Rubens has got to the back of Alex, fourth and fifth. The battle is on, 2 laps to go.
Right on top of the Payce-sponsored Triple One. Davison just ahead the Astron Tech entry, car number 8, heading down to turn number 1. Lap 15 of 16. Incredible times. 104.7 now, lowered by John Martin. He runs in third position. Can we put it out there? Can we see a 3 here today?
Yep. Maybe. The rate at which they're developing these cars, Matt, and with the ultra-durable Hoosier tyre that's pumping out lap record pace on lap 14 and 15, maybe. Could they find 7/10 by this afternoon? Yeah.
A longer race.
Possibly. Especially with competitions like this, and you get a bit of clean air when you're chasing someone down. So Rubens has done 104.8 is his best lap. He's the second fastest guy in the motor race at the moment. So clearly car 111, repaired from yesterday, has been tuned up, and it is pacey. So if he gets to the second row of the grid, as it looks like he'll do for the feature race later on this afternoon, he is dead set a contender for that one. We start the final lap, 1 to go. John Martin, 104.5, another lap record on the penultimate lap of the race. How good are these cars over a distance? To answer your question, I've moved from being maybe to, yeah, absolutely,
to a guarantee. And Jimmy Golding, once again, showing how good this guy is. He was the last driver to be announced during the week. It was a dribbling of names being announced daily to lead up to the first round. And 13 drivers it took to the circuit here for qualifying. Jimmy Golding has been the surprise packet so far. Behind him is Macro, 0.6 of a second behind. He's gone underneath the lap record as well with Rubens Barrichello. But down to the final turn comes James Golding, and he'll start towards the pointy end for the first ever feature race. But he goes into the record books as a second winner in the S5000s here at Sandown, and does it by less than half a second to Tim Macro.
Really good motor race again. They are turning it on here at Sandown. Barrichello chases Davison to the line. Alex beats him, but Rubens will lock himself onto the second row of the grid with that performance. Tim Macro, 64 points from the 2 heats. He locks himself into pole position for the first ever feature race in S5000. It'll be live on SBS later on this afternoon after Car Sales TCR Australia. Well done, that man, Jimmy Golding. He's got the yellow and black on. There's some Tiger fans in the Gary Rogers Motorsport camp, and they are delivering this weekend. Golding, Macro and Martin with a brand new outright lap record of Sandown. 1.2 seconds out of it so far this weekend. Alex Davison, great drive to fourth. Barrichello fifth. Will Brown rounding out the top 6.
And Barton Moore completing in 7th position there after a couple of lockups at turn 9. Tim Berryman 8th. Tom Alexander finishing the race here today, and Taylor Cockerton in the 97 machine completing the top 10. Michael Gibson and Ricky Capo the final finishers, and for Matt Brabham, he went from the race lead to the pits aboard that number 83 Painter Dixon entry. As we take a look at the highlights, the second qualifying heat race for S5000, and the start for mine was Golding from the middle of the pack, found himself in second place by turn 1.
How cool was this battling early on? Great job, evasive action, everyone, to avoid Ricky Capo spinning out of turn 1. This was the big off down at Dandenong Road for Tyler Cockington in the 97. He's had a challenging weekend. He rebounded to get a top 10 finish in that, though. Solid drive. This was the key moment of the race. Off on his own, Matty Brabham, just a little error under braking for Dandenong Road. Whacked the fence, bent a wishbone. That was the sum damage to the Painter Dixon car, so he'll live to fight another day. Great racing here. John Martin was the fastest guy on the racetrack. We'll start on the outside of the front row for the feature race this afternoon. Big move on Alex Davison at the top of the hill. That AGI car, sport car is really, really fast.
And that was move of the race, really, wasn't it, around turn number 6? This was Barrichello and Brown going side by side to turn number 1. Barrichello would get the job done as the number 38 car locked up at the S's.
I love that Will Brown will find that as cool as you and I do.
Yes.
Barrichello passing him at turn 1 at Sandown. Golding was under pressure for the whole race distance, but he measured it brilliantly. And in the end, the margin was 0.4 of a second. It's a win to GRM. It's a win to Jimmy Golding. Formula Ford race winner takes out qualifying Heat 2 in S5000. The grid is built for the feature race. Macro and Martin will be on the front row.
See Golding and Barrichello on that second row. Davison and Brown will square out on row number 3. Noons, these cars are just amazing, aren't they?
Loved that race. Qualifying race 2 delivers, and for James Golding, top 3 yesterday, a win today from deep in the 10. Well done.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, it was unbelievable. Got an awesome start there. Really tricky to get these things off the line, so it just goes to show when you nail it, it really makes a difference. Yeah, just settled in after that. Obviously had to make one move there to get Matty, and it was a close race, and everyone's racing pretty tight out there, so it's good fun.
What did you learn from yesterday's qualifying race that you could apply for this one today?
Well, just how important the start is, and just the tyres coming up still. Like, it's still taking 5-6 laps for them really to come in properly. So just taking it easy, not getting carried away. And yeah, I had an awesome run. I was thinking about trying to go for first straight away. I thought, nah, let's just get it through the first corner and then see what we can do after that.
Sensational job. He's going to start P3 for the feature race this afternoon on the combined points. We'll come around to Tim Macro, who is the pole man for the feature race. A win yesterday, second today. You're in the box seat for the race that matters this afternoon. Well done.
Yeah, it's looking all right, isn't it? Look, the guys have done a great job with the car. We've had an awesome weekend so far, and now we're just going to finish it off. That race was all about the start. Absolutely nailed the start. Got 5 guys at the start, and I thought, how good's this? We're sitting on the podium already, and I sat behind Jimmy, and I thought, I'll try and keep the pressure on and see if he makes a mistake, and he didn't, to his credit, so he did a really good job. But we knew we were pole for that one, so awesome.
We'll see you a bit later on for that feature race. There he is, Tim Macro. We'll come down the line here to the man who was the fastest man in the history of Sandown. John Martin broke the lap record in a 1:04.5, I think it was at one stage I saw on the timing screen there. You put yourself on the front row for the feature race this afternoon. This is going to be good stuff.
Yeah, definitely, but I don't think the lap record will stand long. I reckon I'll be in the 3s in the next one with some green tyres, so that's the aim now, I reckon. But yeah, getting more comfortable with the car. Obviously the boys are tuning it up, they're learning more as well. I'm learning more, they're learning more, but probably had the pressures a little bit low then. Just had nothing till about lap 6, and when you got nothing, holy, there's just no grip. They're quite scary to drive, but then kind of caught Davo, got past him, and then yeah, just sort of set sail. So it was yeah, pleasure to drive then really in clear air. Would have been nice if we were in front to do that, but anyway, no, we'll hopefully, yeah, we'll tune it up a little bit more for the feature. Stick some greens on it, send it.
Sounds like a very simple strategy. All the best. He's got a big afternoon, John Martin. Double duty with the Honda TCR cars and S5000, that feature race this afternoon.